Welcome to The Explainer. Now, if you're an engineering leader who has been struggling to piece together the nearshore talent puzzle, let me assure you, you are definitely not alone. Today, we're diving deep into a really comprehensive guide on how to actually build a high-performing nearshore development team. We are going to unpack the real, sometimes uncomfortable reasons why these initiatives either take off or totally crash and burn. And spoiler alert, it is almost never about the engineers themselves.
We've got a highly actionable playbook lined up for you. We'll start by looking at the impossible talent math that's driving this whole trend, and then we'll tackle how to close the readiness gap. From there, we'll walk through a strict 4-phase playbook, figure out how to choose the right LatAm market for your specific needs, and wrap up with exactly how to score vendors and track your milestones.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the impossible talent math, and a frankly mind-blowing $5.5 trillion cost.
According to IDC's IT Skills Shortage Report, the lack of available IT skills is expected to impact 9 out of 10 organizations by 2026, and the fallout from that, it's projected to create a staggering $5.5 trillion in economic losses. That's trillion with a T. We're talking about major project delays, severe quality issues, and just massive amounts of unrealized revenue. This isn't some distant future problem. This is a cost that U.S. engineering organizations are absorbing right now. And to put that into an even broader perspective, global research from Korn Ferry projects that by 2030, this global talent shortage could hit 85 million workers.
Because of that intense domestic squeeze, the demand for Latin American talent has completely skyrocketed, surging by 156% in recent years. In fact, the region's software market is expected to surpass $20 billion by 2029. But here's the crucial takeaway. Companies moving into this region aren't just slapping a quick band-aid on a current hiring problem. The data strongly suggests that companies securing this talent right now are building a compounding structural advantage for themselves as the domestic market just continues to tighten.
Which brings us to Section 2, closing the readiness gap by putting infrastructure first.
I want you to think about this question. What really separates the companies that build high-performing nearshore teams in 90 days from the ones that are still troubleshooting misaligned expectations 6 months down the line? Conventional wisdom tells us it's just a hiring challenge, right? You find the right vendor, you hire the right engineers, and boom, you're set. But as it turns out, finding the talent is only half the story.
The core issue really boils down to this. It is not the vendor they chose. It is the work they did before they chose one. That framing right there, treating outsourcing like it's simply a standard hiring exercise, completely skips a vital variable. The reality is, engagements rarely fail because of bad talent. They fail because of a total lack of internal preparation and onboarding.
This introduces a concept called the readiness gap. Think of it as the distance between a company's internal conviction that they are totally ready to build a nearshore team and the actual operational preparation required to make that team productive within 90 days. Most engagements that fall apart in the first 3 months do so because the U.S. company showed up completely lacking the infrastructure that an external team needs to actually do their jobs. But here's the good news. This gap is entirely closable once you acknowledge it's there.
So before you even think about approaching a vendor, the playbook recommends gut-checking 4 absolutely crucial internal areas. Number 1, is your tech stack documented well enough that an external team can onboard without a senior engineer holding their hand for 2 solid weeks? If not, documenting it is a non-negotiable prerequisite. Number 2, do you have defined success metrics, like cycle time and delivery velocity? You literally can't manage toward success if you don't measure it. Number 3, is your asynchronous communication infrastructure, things like decision logs and project visibility tools, actually in place? And finally, have you classified decision rights? You need to know what requires U.S. input versus what the nearshore team can just own. Trying to figure this out on the fly will completely erode your time zone advantage.
All right, moving right along to Section 3, the 4-phase playbook to build your team in 90 days.
Think of this as your execution manual. There are 4 operational phases you must follow before signing a single contract: define, vet, launch, and optimize. Notice the strict timeline attached to each. Let's break down what actually needs to happen in these phases.
In Phase 1, the define phase, you spend the first 2 weeks internally defining capability profiles, your engagement model, whether that's staff augmentation or a fully dedicated team, and your success definitions. Nailing this down internally saves you literally weeks of misaligned execution later on. Then, Phase 2 is vet. Here, you're evaluating vendors based on their specific track record in your tech stack and their time zone overlap. And crucially, you design a 2 to 3 week paid pilot project. Why? Because a paid pilot reveals true operational compatibility in a way no polished sales proposal ever could.
Then we hit the launch and optimize phases. Listen, the first 30 days of any nearshore engagement is the absolute highest risk period. You cannot wait for friction to appear. You have to build structure beforehand. The playbook stresses creating a highly structured onboarding document and assigning a dedicated U.S. side integration lead. Too often, U.S. companies underinvest during this critical launch window, and then they falsely blame the talent quality when the team ramps up slowly. Almost every time, the real culprit is just insufficient onboarding architecture.
Okay, Section 4. Choosing your LATAM market and finding your perfect fit.
Latin America isn't just one big monolith. It has over 2 million IT professionals, but their strengths are concentrated differently depending on the country. For instance, Costa Rica operates on Central Standard Time. This offers the absolute strongest time zone alignment for U.S. Pacific and Mountain Time companies, which is perfect for agile product development that needs daily, real-time collaboration. Now, Mexico has the largest talent pool and a ton of engineers with Fortune 500 experience, making it your go-to if you need to scale headcount quickly without sacrificing technical depth. And then there's Colombia. Operating on Eastern Standard Time, it offers a really strong value balance and mid-market depth, making it a fantastic choice for U.S. East Coast companies that are building their very first nearshore teams.
And finally, Section 5. Vendor scoring and milestones. How to actually measure your success. When you're sitting down to evaluate vendors, you need a hard scoring rubric, and this one is highly recommended before you even hit that pilot stage. Notice the heavy weighting given to technology stack depth and time zone overlap. In fact, the source material is super clear on this. If a vendor scores below a 3 out of 5 in either their tech stack delivery or their time zone overlap, you should eliminate them instantly. I'm serious. No matter how well they score on contract flexibility or references, those two criteria are absolutely non-negotiable for true agile delivery. Once your team is finally launched, you need a milestone map to hold everyone accountable. By day 30, your new engineers should have completed their code-based onboarding and committed to production at least once. If they haven't, you need to revisit those onboarding docs immediately. By day 60, the team should be hitting 80% or more of their sprint commitments, with rework rates sitting under 15%. If they're falling behind, you need to audit your decision-making bottlenecks. And by day 90, operations should be humming at full velocity. At this point, your U.S. integration lead should be spending less than 10% of their time on coordination overhead. When you hit that, you know your team is officially ready to scale.
Now, navigating all of this internal preparation, the vendor auditing, and the milestone tracking on your own can be, well, a lot. The playbook notes that partnering with organizations like Bay One can actually guide your company through every single phase of this readiness and launch process. The whole point of using a structured model, from the initial readiness assessment all the way through to scaling, is to completely remove the trial and error from those first 90 days, setting you up for compounding returns on every single sprint.
I want to leave you with a final, provocative thought. Ask yourself, are you still trying to hire your way out of a readiness problem? Before you sign another contract or interview another engineer, take a really hard look at your internal infrastructure. Document the stack, define the metrics, and structure the communication. The readiness gap is very real, but as we've seen today, it is entirely closable. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Now get that internal infrastructure ready and go build an absolutely incredible nearshore team.
Thanks for watching. We appreciate you. Check out the next video on this topic, or subscribe to our channel to keep up with our latest explainer videos, live webinars, and other insights into technology solutions.